Hi, this is Mark with the Profit Playbook, and today we have a very interesting and colorful guest, Casey Truby, and we're going to go into who he is, his story. He is a legend in the marketing and accounting world. Very deep history there, and be sure to stick to the end. We actually have a little something special for the viewers as well. So. What I like to do is go ahead and bring on KC, and let's bring KC on. And here he is. Looks like you're at your ranch there with your cowboy hat. How's it
Well,
going?
I'm always at my ranch. I'm out at the barn because I smoke cigars. My wife says anybody who smells like the back end of a horse ought to be out there with them. So she won't let me work up at the house. So I'm excited to be here, Mark. Let's talk about some marketing, some of the things we used to do 20, 30, 40 years ago to get clients, and what's happening now when an accountant wants to get a client. What do you say?
I'd say let's go ahead and do that. And I recently saw a picture of you on LinkedIn. Looks like you got some new handlebars for your home. Let's see if we can switch to that really quick.
Oh, yes, those are great, aren't they? The deal is that right now, since that event happened in Mexico on the set of Rust, you can buy these Hollywood guns cheap. So I got a pair and off eBay and made them into door handles on the front door. That looks pretty good, doesn't it?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and you're definitely there on the ranch, and yeah. So let's jump in. So let maybe we can start with we're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but maybe kind of start with you, kind of like your background, Casey. Let's maybe go ahead and take it from the top.
I'll be happy to tell you about that. I'm 16 years old and I am not doing very good in school, and I decided to run away to Wyoming and become a cowboy. I did that for a couple of years, and I found out I was getting paid $400 a month to outsmart cows, and that didn't seem like much of a career path. So I became an accountant. God knows why I decided to do that. At 16, started my own business and started doing bookkeeping for little businesses around the ranch where I was living, and that went on for a couple of years, but the truth was I wasn't very good at accounting. I wasn't that good at it. I was better at finding clients than it was at actually doing any work. So somewhere around age 26, 27, 28, I started teaching other accountants how I had gone out and got more clients than I could deal with. I discovered it was easier to go out and find the clients than it was to actually be an accountant. And that was the beginning of it. And then over the years, starting, in 85, it was actually legal for a CPA. Up till then, I could only work for bookkeepers. But in 85, accountants could start advertising because of the Supreme Court. And I was excited about that. And I started doing seminars around the country. There's only one other guy, Chris Fredrickson, and I. We went all over America, different paths, different markets, but teaching accountants how to go out and get business. And we were pretty, at least I was pretty old school about it. Send out a direct mail letter, get a order in, call the customer, what do you want to learn about? And then I'd show up at the seminar in Topeka, Kansas, or Dallas, Texas, and 20, 30, 40, 50 accounts would be there. A lot of guys that are on the phone today remember that. Of course, a
Sure.
lot of the guys that I trained back then aren't with us anymore because time keeps marching on, I reckon. But the interesting thing that happened, Mark, was that I wrote everything learned, I wrote it down and put it into training manuals. And we were doing a lot of marketing, but I put it into training manuals. And the truth is, I made more money selling books than I did going out and selling seminar tickets. And as a matter of fact, this is just kind of bragging off a little bit, but between 85 and 2005, when I retired and moved out here to Arizona and decided to go back to being a cowboy, but I don't get up there and do cow things anymore. That's too much work for an old man. I got boys around here, sons that can do that stuff now. So, but between 85 and 2005, I can directly attribute over $50 million of revenue coming in from books that I wrote.
And that's
Uh,
50 million.
50 million. Now
Wow.
that sounds like a big number, but that was over 20 years, so I think that works out to 2 million a year. But I still wasn't complaining for a high school dropout cowboy who decided he wasn't a very good accountant. I thought 2 million a year for the 20-year period was pretty damn good. So I enjoyed doing that. A lot of people, we must have had 20, 30,000 accounts come to our seminars over those decades. And then it just, I just got tired of traveling and going on the airplane and stuff. So around 2005, I gave it up and just came out here to sit on a John Deere if I wanted to go somewhere. If you want to go anywhere fast, don't drive a tractor. So
Got it.
that's kind of the history. But I will tell you what I do now, just real briefly, and we can kind of talk about that or whatever else you'd like to chat about. Um, Today, I write books for other accountants because this works so well for me, writing a book. And we'll talk about all the reasons why it's successful. But it works so well for me, and I know a lot of accountants wish they could write a book, but it's just so cumbersome. I mean, buddy, that's a 1,000-hour job to write a 200-page book. And who can take off half a year to
Mhm.
do something like that? So it it's something that works. It's something they should do, but it's an incredible hurdle to get through it. So since I've done so many now, I can do it and do it for a lot cheaper than any accountant can do it themselves. And so that's what I do up here: sit out in the barn, smoke a few cigars, write some books.
And I guess the big question is, Casey, we've seen a lot of stuff in the marketing and sales world, particularly for accountants. There's blogs, there's SEO, there's YouTube, there's podcasts, there's ebooks, there's millions of things. There's Facebook ads that folks are losing thousands of dollars on. Why write a book? What is it about writing a book that really makes an accountant stand out? Is there anything in particular about a book? And what's the difference between the books you write versus, you've probably seen a lot of these little ebooks and things like that online. Can you maybe dig into that a little bit?
Well, accounting is a different animal than selling walnuts or selling brooms or getting somebody to log on to Amazon and buy a box of soap. Accounting is a one-to-one relationship that's really based on trust. Does this accountant understand me? And do I feel comfortable? Uh, what we used to say in our seminars is accounting is like getting naked in front of somebody and they promise not to laugh at you. And so that's really what it amounts to. You get financially naked in front of somebody, and I hope they don't say something derogatory. But it's an uncomfortable thing. That's why they're not very happy to switch. I get hold of an accountant, even if he's bad, I'm going to stick with him to death. Uh, but the marketing you see out there with all this SEO stuff and online stuff, um, here's what I discovered over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Nobody keeps doing it. I watch that stuff real close. And I'll see an accountant in Arkansas or an accountant in Wyoming or somebody out in New York City that wants to start doing advertising online. And I keep a little log and I copy their ad into a little folder. And I respond to them sometimes just to see if they know what they're doing on the follow up. But here's the thing: after 30 days, they're all gone. Nobody stays. And you know what that tells you? This does not work. But since we have infinite optimism and 10,000 salesmen out there calling you, telling you what a good idea it is, we just keep trying and trying and trying. Uh, but I just don't see it happening. Just a lot of effort and money going down the tubes because it's not the kind of person that's on Facebook is not the kind of person that's going to give you $1,000 a week to be their CFO
Sure.
on an outside basis. That they're not the same person. You're advertising to the wrong crowd. So we used to make a lot of fun when Facebook first came up because everybody took pictures of their cat and their
They still
dinner.
do. They
Oh
still
my
do.
God, how is that? How Who wants to see a picture of your cat?
Yeah.
Well, there are some coyotes right over on the other side of this hill that would love to see your cat, but I guess we better not talk about that. So this, you were going to ask me about why a book. What's so important about a book?
Yeah.
Now
And
here,
go for it.
okay. Here's what worked for me. Here's what works for other accounts. The thing about a book is that no one else has done it. If I write a book, if I'm in Minneapolis and I write a book on how to be successful in the construction business, not another accountant in the state of Minnesota has taken the effort to write that book. If I'm in a competitive situation and I'm up against 2, 3 other accountants and they're trying to get my business, and it looks like I might spend 25, 30,000 a year with accounting, and I'm the guy that wrote the book, I got everybody else beat. They don't have a chance because I am seen as the authority in the state of Minnesota. When it comes to accounting and it comes to construction, nobody else is taking the time to write the book. I'm the man or the woman, and I'm the one that's going to get the client. I mean, that's really what it really boils all down to. We have been taught since we were very young to respect books. We were in the school library as in kindergarten. Don't write in this book. Don't fold the pages. This is sacrosanct. And the words that are in here are to be passed down generation to generation. I mean, we have always been taught to hold books in reverence. And that, my thought, hasn't gone away. And so when you write a book, you join a very small club of people that have taken the time to share their most inner thoughts and expertise with others. And that's why I tell my son to read books. I got a 12-year-old boy. I know it's kind of amazing, a guy my age having grade school kids, but I tell my 12-year-old, says a man sits down and writes a book, or a woman does, they put a year into this, and they put the best of everything they can think of into this. And that we get to go to the library and borrow it or get it off Amazon for $20, and we get a year's worth of work for $20. What a bargain! And so that's why books work, because no one else can do it, and because we are trained to believe that books uh, are almost mystical, and because it gives us, and this is the biggest one of all, it gives us the opportunity to explain to our best customer, not the price shopper, the guy who really wants some help and really wants a partnership relationship with their accountant. It gives us an opportunity to explain what we can do. There are all of us do this. We sit up at nights and wish that our clients would listen to us a little bit more, that they would take the time to let us sit down and explain to them why why they're not making money, or what's going on in the business that's right or wrong. And we're disappointed constantly because they're not as excited about their numbers as we are.
And
And they, their
Casey,
numbers.
and you practice what you preach. I mean, you wrote a book yourself. Let's see if we can pull that up here. But you wrote a book yourself, and you have obviously a track record of doing this.
Hey, let me tell you the reason I wrote that book is because it's a complicated idea to understand writing a book. So, and it's a very small book. It's only 110 pages long, but it explains to the accountant, here's the step-by-step procedure of not only why you should write a book, how to write it, and then once you've done, what do you do with it? I mean, you sure don't want to buy 1,000 copies and have to tell your wife to park in the street because the garage is full. That won't go over very big. So, what do you do with the book? And that's really, really some important process. Do you want to cover that and talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, what I actually really wanted to dig into is kind of like the differences, because when you say write a book, you're not talking about a pamphlet. I mean, you're talking about a full scale book, and I like the example you gave in terms of a niche and being an authority in that area. And a lot of the accountants that I work with, a lot of them start, they're sort of all over the place. They want to service every industry. They want to service, across the country, but they don't really start with a particular niche. And the books that you write, it sounds like you're targeting a specific niche for a specific thing. Actually, what I thought we could do is maybe hop into an example of, we started off by why write a book. Maybe if you could give me an example of an accountant that would want to write a book, and maybe some of the benefits they could actually see from writing a book, and how long does it actually take to start to see those benefits.
Okay, well, let me tell you then about that's a great question. Let me tell you about an accountant in Atlanta. And I'm not going to tell you the name because everything I do is secret. I'm a ghostwriter. That means my name never shows up in anything. And this accountant contributed to the book. He was part of it. He was a big enough part of it to say that he wrote it with honesty. But I did most of the grunt work and the grinding work for him. He finished it out and published it on Amazon in his name. Okay, good. Now, with all that said, let's just take this guy's name. I'm going to just call him Jack for right now. Okay, so Jack is a enrolled agent, and he has a little bookkeeping business, 10 employees, does pretty well. As a matter of fact, he built the business to 10 employees because he himself had sat down 2 years earlier and wrote a book about tax savings ideas. Gave 3,000 copies away over 1 year. I thought that was pretty impressive when I first heard about it. And that had built up his bookkeeping business, but bookkeeping didn't turn out to be the golden calf that he was hoping for. He was really wanting to do outsourced CFO work for bigger dollars. $300 a month out write up was, if they still call it write up, that's a lot of labor intensive work and effort and a lot of warm bodies to keep happy. So he was looking for a better client. And somehow we ended up on the phone. And I started asking him about his practice and who he had done business with before. And he says, I can help any business in America. And started right out like everyone else. I don't want to limit myself. Well, if you don't limit yourself, you're never going to make a buck. And if your idea is to sell every business that is doing $500,000 more a year in sales, I can't help you. I can't write that book. But if you want to go after, and he just told me that he loved contractors a little bit. His family was in construction. He liked the idea of being in construction. I said, if you want to sell contractors that are doing over $500,000 a year, I can help you write that book. But we got to be specific. It's got to be contractors that are within 30 miles of your office and that are doing well now and that want to do better tomorrow. Let's take that guy doing $500,000 that wants to go to 2 million, or the guy doing $1 million wants to go to 10 million. Let's focus on that niche. And I said, this book will never be a bestseller because by the time we get done narrowing this niche down from 330 million people in America, we're going to be down to about 2,500 that are potential customers within 30 miles of you. That's it, 2,500 people. That's your whole world. I said, well, I can't make a living on that. I said, dude, come on, dude. You're going to charge these people $1,000 a week to be their CFO, maybe $1,000 a month if you get cold feet when you're talking to them. But if you got 20 or 30 of these, you're a millionaire. You've got it. We all read that book, Acres of Diamonds, when we were just starting out in business. We're stepping over money right under our feet and thinking we're going to get rich somewhere else. The truth is, 30 miles from his office, there was $1 trillion of business to be had, and he only needs to do about $2 million a year to get every dream he ever had. Let's just focus down to this market. Now, here's the biggest reason I write these titles like this and write these books. Contractor in Atlanta doing $500,000 wants to go to 2 million. Now, if you're that guy and you pick up that book, you won't be able to put it down. You won't be able to ignore it because it's as if we're talking to you. And that's exactly what the whole book is. That's the secret. Find the niche that you can specialize in and then talk to that one man, that one woman about their business and how they can be more successful. And be blunt. You don't have to pussyfoot around and say, this might work. Some people try this if they're comfortable, and those kind of people. Everything that time they make a declarative statement, they start backing it up with three pillowcases about why. Well, sometimes that's not true. No, be blunt. Tell them the truth. If you don't get if you commingle your money, you're going to go broke. If you don't watch your receivables, you're going to go broke. If you have an employee and they're doing a bad job and cause you a lot of chaos, but you keep them on because it's your wife's brother, you're going to go broke. And tell them the truth in your book. And I'll tell you what, they read that and they go, aha, permission to do the right thing. And that's so amazing. Business owners know what to do, but they're scared. And they don't feel like they have permission to do the right thing. And when you put it in a book, they go, there's the proof of what I've been thinking all along. This account knows me. And that's why books work, because they have this high level of credibility, because you address the singular problems of that niche, and because it is so powerful to pick up that book that says, you are the one that need to read this. Now, let me tell you how the guy uses the book in Atlanta. We got a list together, and that's easy to buy. Dime a name off the internet of all the contractors in 30 miles that fit the parameters of who he's looking for. And we just started mailing the book out free. So he did the Amazon ads, get this book and for $29.95. Or if you go to Amazon, $29.95. You call me, I'll send it to you for shipping and handling, $6.95. That's a pretty good shtick. But they're still not the right people because the right people are not on social media. So we just put it in an envelope and mailed it with a little cover letter that said, thought you might be interested in this. It addresses the exact problems you're dealing with every day. Send out 100 a week. Well, it only cost him about $2.50 a piece to print those books. And now you can get this Amazon publishing done in real time. They can actually print books cheaper than I can get them printed from a print shop. So if I need 100 books, I just log on to my own Amazon account and buy 100 books. They charge me $2.25 a piece for them, and a week later they show up here. Now, then I use book postage, which is about $2.50 a book, and I stick them in an envelope and just mail them out cold. Now I know who I'm sending to, so I send it to 100 businesses on Friday. On Tuesday, Book Rate lands the book locally, and then I'll tell you, we get one or two calls off the 100 books. Well, the 100 books, what that cost me? About $500 to get two calls from contractors doing $500,000 or more who are looking for these kind of answers. That's a hell of a bargain. But then I'll tell you what most of my accounts will do is they'll hire a professional salesperson and say, I'll give you $5 if you talk to the guy that got the book. You can't just call the office. You can't leave a message. You got to talk to the guy that we sent the book to. And if you talk to him, hit the record button. I want to listen to it. You send me those recordings, I'll pay you $5 a piece. And if they want to talk to me and I get a meeting with them, I'll throw you an extra $100. And if they become a client, I'll throw you an extra $100 on top of that. Now, professional salespeople take that deal. Because they're going to get paid $5 every time I talk to the guy. I talk to 4 guys an hour, make $20. At the end of the week, I might make another 200, 300, and 400 in profit. Heck of a deal. And so they get to work at home and work when they want to, but that's the process we use. Now, there was one other little trick I threw in the mix. In the 13th chapter, all books that I write are 12 chapters. Just seems to be a number that 12 chapters, 10 to 15 pages long, and just seems to be the kind of size that somebody doesn't feel overwhelmed with. If I send out a 400-page book, you can write a 400-page book, but you send that out, the only people that read that are academics, and my guy's got to fill up the F-350 and get out to a job site. He's not an academic. He's just trying to figure out how to go from $500,000 to $2 million because he told his wife they're going to buy a 32-foot boat next year and rent a cabin out on the lake. So he's kind of desperate to get some money made. So I threw in a caveat. I put in a free chapter 13 And I do this for most of the people that we write books for, and it offers the business owner a free 100-page workbook, the supplement to the book we just sent you for free. And all you got to do is talk to me and I'll send it out to you. Now, that's what the salesman that gets on the phone says. Hey, did you want to get the supplement? Let me get you on the phone with the accountant and they'll get your address and ship it out to you. And they do that. Well, it's not a big deal. They print up a 100-page workbook in a 3-ring binder, put their own firm name on the front. And now I'll tell you what, this business owner, even if they don't buy from me, they will never forget me. And here's the reason why. Because on their shelf is a book I wrote just to them. It never goes away. 30 years from now, you'll find that same book sitting right where it was. That business owner looked at that book 1 or 2 or 10 times a year for 30 years. Something's going to go wrong in 30 years. They're going to think about me. But right next to it is a 3-ring binder. And on a work process, a business plan, take everything out of that 100-page book, put it into a 100-page workbook. And now I'm going to be able to use this step by step to make the 100 decisions that will move me from doing $500,000 to $2 million a year. And that totally changes the game plan out there. Everything is different. I mean, when I'm trying to run these ads on Facebook or LinkedIn and doing that SEO stuff, I look like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry on the planet. But I'll tell you, if I'm willing to commit to my most specific, perfect prospect, God, that's important, that here is the answer to what you lose sleep over. If I can make that happen, they think about me. And when they finally decide that it's something they better take care of, then they call me. Of course, I help because I kind of encourage it. I have the professional salesperson call them on the phone. And of course, and I always do all the other stuff. I get their emails when I get a list, so I kind of nag them a little bit by email. And then I use somebody over in off Fiverr to try to connect me to all those people on social media, so that once in a while when I post a follow up or something, they get notified if they're on LinkedIn or if they are one of those guys that go on to Facebook. But those are just little things you throw in on the side to throw a little gas on the fire, some juice in the tank, that kind of thing. But that's my process. That's what I explained in that book that you just showed. Thank you so much for showing it up,
Sure,
by the way.
sure. And Casey, I think this is a great segue because now I want to get down into more of the mechanics of the book. I want to talk about, I mean, obviously we're talking to accountants, so we're going to talk some dollars. We're going to talk about sort of like the money, the margins. But before I get into that, for the folks that are watching right now on YouTube, I'd like you to drop in a comment. If you were to write a book, what would the topic be? What would that niche be, or why would you? What are some of the things that have been keeping you back from writing a book? Just feel free to drop a note in the comments. So back to KC. So let's talk a little bit more about the mechanics. And I guess first of all, what do you do, and what does the accountant do? Are they going to be expected to write a little bit? Are you going to interview them? Tell me a little bit about that process. If they're looking at you right now, they're like, I need to write a book. Tell us a little bit about that process.
You need to write a book if you are looking for that 25 to 50 to maybe $100,000 client. And we've all got them. We've got those kind of clients, 1 or 2 usually instead of 30 or 40 or 50. But if we want that client, the easiest, fastest way is to write a book. And so let's start with that point. Now let's talk about the mechanics. What happens? Now, I get a lot of accountants that call me and they started to write a book and they got 10, 12, 15 pages in it. And they've been looking at those pages for 2 years. It's a constant irritation. They send them over to me. And I think to myself, boy, am I glad they didn't print this book. It is accurate, but it is boring. And no one's ever going to read this or respond. So I just shake my head and go, oh, Lord, am I glad you didn't write this. Here's the mechanics. So this accountant called me, and my first question is, what do you want to sell? Who do you want to sell it to? And you got to tell me those answers if we're going to go one step further. And you've got to narrow it down. And a lot of times I'll be sitting on the computer screen. They'll say, "Well, I want to reach this particular kind of client." Well, I can do a quick count on how many plumbers there are, how many contractors, how many medical doctors there are in 30 miles of their office. And I'll say, well, that'll work or that won't work. There's not enough people. I need a bigger market, or you need to zone this market down a little bit. There's no reason to go after a market with 100,000 people in it, because if you've got 2,000 people and you end up with 2% of the market, that's 40 clients paying you 25, 50,000 a year. That's more than you've ever had in your life. You're a golden calf. Stop. That's good. So we get past those two questions. Then here comes the process. I put probably about a 10 or 15-page questionnaire on Google Docs, and I actually walked through a lot of questions with them. What do you want the client to know when they're done reading this book? What is the biggest objection you get when you're talking to a client about buying this best service? I don't sell cheap services. I only want to sell the best service you got. What are the objections the client's going to bring? What is the number one thing that keeps that client up at night? And I'm listening to them. I'm listening for two things. Do they understand their client, number one? Do they understand the reason their client should buy? And I want to hear their tone. Are they like me and they talk in terms of storytelling, or are they very articulate and precise and Germanic in their conversation, so that they got A's in grammar school? I want to listen for that, because then we want to trend that book a little bit towards them. So anyway, with all that said, there's probably about a 1 hour initial interview. And then I will go over all those notes in the market. And then I only write books for maybe 1 out of 10 people I talk to, because the other 9 can't get focused enough to make it work. And they can't get focused enough to make it a good book. So for that one guy that I'm going to write a book for, after my hour conversation, I'll call them back in a day or two, and I'll send them an outline. Here's what I think you can do. Now, here are the main points that you want to cover. And there are 2 things I need you to do there's 12, 14, 18 main points that you might want to cover. I want you to go through this, and I want you to write down a list of the frequently asked questions. For example, my client needs to secure a line of credit. What's the most common questions a client asks about getting a line of credit? Then I want you to make a second column and write down the should ask questions, not the frequently asked, the ones the client should ask, but they don't. And write down the 2 or 3 things that the client really doesn't even know they don't know. And do that for each of these 12 or 18 main points. Now, here's the reason for this. Because we can answer the things the clients want to talk about, but when we answer the things they never thought about asking, they go, aha, that's what I need to talk about. That's why this account is so important. I didn't even think about that. Look at this. This accountant's telling me new stuff. This guy's a genius. And so now, once I get that outline completed, that research, then I can sit down and map out what the book's going to look like. Combine the main topics, throw some stuff out because it's irrelevant, that sort of thing. Send it over to the accountant and say, okay, this is what the book will look like. I do a cover for them so they can get excited about it, and put that cover up on the wall and say, coming soon, my new book. And then they can start thinking about this book and what's going to happen. Now, here's the important thing that happens. I write stories. Sometimes I write true stories that are made up, but I write stories that explain the situation. Here's how an accountant in a suburb of Atlanta landed a $1 million line of credit. This is what they did. These are the frequently asked problems they had. These are the things they didn't think about. And here's what it ended up with. And this guy is just like you. So you can use this process they used also. storytelling is the secret. And this is why accountants become so frustrated with writing books, is because, to tell you the truth, they're pretty bad storytellers. But your guys that are reading the book, they won't read a textbook. They won't read uh, a scientific checklist of process steps. They want to read about I cried in my failure and I was ready to give up. And then I discovered. And as soon as I discovered this, I was able to finally get back on track and do this great big thing that I've always wanted to do. So I suffered until I discovered, and then I had prosperity. Those are simple three steps. That's what a story is. So if I can write a series of stories answering those problems and questions, that book's going to get read. And that accountant whose picture is on the front cover of this book is going to be seen as quite a genius. Woo! Okay. Did that answer that question?
I love that. I love that. And it sounds like, because one of the biggest frustrations, and I think you hit it on the head, is accountants aren't, a lot of them aren't writers, right? They're focusing on the finance, on the money, on the profits, and so when it comes time to writing a book, there's a lot that's put into it. What can an accountant expect in terms of a timeline? Let's say, hey, they gave you a call, Casey. Hey, I'm totally interested. How do we get started? How long is it going to take? What's kind of like the timeline on that, roughly?
It's a big job. And where it might take an accountant half a year to do it, it takes me about 200 hours. And that's front to back, because when I do this, I'm going to take it all the way to printed on paper. ISBN number of the Library of Congress, the whole 9 yards. We're not going to leave anything up to the local accountant, because you don't know how to do it. And I don't believe anybody should ever learn how to do something you're only going to do once. So just give me the job. We do it a lot. But it takes me about 200 hours, which means I'm usually writing 2 books at once, so about 8 weeks before I can take it from our initial interview to I'm a published author on Amazon. And now I can start marketing this book, which we haven't talked about very much, other than just mailing it away for free to your very best prospects. But I'll tell you, there's something else you should do with this book. If you're the guy in Atlanta, every single construction group in Atlanta has somebody in charge of the program who's going to speak this month. And he delivers that book to every one of them. No matter plumbers, drywallers, everybody's got a group or an association or a club who's booking the speaker, and he's in that meeting because he sent the book over. And the guy running the entertainment says, we got a local accountant who wrote a book just for contractors in Atlanta. I got to have this guy come in and talk. So he gets booked. And a lot of times he'll talk to 30, 40, 50 of his very best prospects all at once. And then, of course, he always takes a workbook with him and a copy of his book with him and passes it out in the room. Because, once 2 or 3 people take the book, almost everybody in the room will take the book. He just trades them their business card for the book. So that's a really powerful way to use a book. And then one of my favorite things is I love to stock my books at Barnes and Noble. Now, Barnes and Noble doesn't know about this, but I will take my book into Barnes and Noble with me, 3 or 4 copies, and I'll go down to the section on construction, and I'll face that book in the section on construction and just set it up there. Now, this is totally ridiculous, because when somebody buys it, they go to the front counter and there is no ISBN number for the book in the Barnes and Noble system, but somebody was standing there wanting to buy the book for their spouse or for grandpa's birthday or something, and there's a price on it, so they just ring the price up. ISBN doesn't match. They don't know the book wasn't supposed to be in there. But isn't that a funny way to get your book distributed to people that you who are interested in success in construction?
That's quite a way. Quite a way.
I just have fun doing that stuff, that kind of stuff. But I got a big stack of them in the office. So when people come in, oh, and another thing, I send it to all of my clients. Now I'm going to tell you something else about referrals. This is a sweetheart thing on referrals with the book. So I send the book to my clients, and then the next time I talk to my client, I ask them, "How'd you like the book?" Now most of them don't even read it, but they don't want to tell me they didn't read it. That's embarrassing. So they are very complimentary. Oh, that's a wonderful book. I loved it. You were so insightful. Um, but then I asked them a killer question. Hey, I was looking at your database in QuickBooks, and it looks like you know about 18 other subcontractors here in town. Uh, do you mind if I gift the book to those 18 guys?
Hmm.
And they always say yes. So then, now this is so slick and easy. I go on Amazon, and my book sells for $10. I go on Amazon and I buy the book as a gift, and Amazon lets you put a little card in there. So I say, this book is from Bob Thompson. He's one of my clients, and he told me that you would like this book. I do his accounting, and I hope that you enjoy this. Now, that's a little gift card that Amazon puts in the book, and they deliver it 2 days later on Prime. And I paid Amazon $10 to do this, but guess what? I get $4 back as my royalty, so my cost is $6. Now, for $6, I just told this guy who I've never met, probably never gonna meet under normal circumstances, that your associate in the construction business is my client. My client likes this book. My client is doing you a gift with this book, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve you. I mean, that's it. But can you imagine how impactful that is? I mean, business accounts will struggle for years. How do we get referrals? And all you give them a gift to all the people the guy knows who's in construction, and that's it. It's so simple.
And I've just heard a few things there. I've heard a way to basically do viral marketing. I mean, you have a subcontractor that's reaching out to their friends. I mean that's basically kind of like a viral strategy to kind of propagate that book. And I'm also hearing a great referral system. I'm hearing reciprocity. It's sort of like, hey, I give you this book, they get something back. They give it to their friends. There's a gift in there. It sounds like it's almost like the self-perpetuating thing. So I want to kind of dig in a little bit more into the numbers in terms of the investment, and in terms of the ROI. Again, when we first started, there's thousands of ways to blow thousands of dollars on marketing, and we've probably seen it all. So in terms of ROI, what can the accountant expect in terms of the ROI, in terms of getting this book out, having it created. I think you said that it can have a span of 10 or 20 or 30 years. It kind of works for itself. Can you get a little bit into some of the numbers and the ROI on that?
Hey, let's be very specific because I don't leave people hanging in this question because it's real frightening. A lot of people that have thought about a book have looked up what does it cost to hire a ghostwriter, and the truth is it's very expensive. This is going to take 200 hours. If it's a book that requires an enormous amount of research, and then it can take 1,000 hours. So you hire somebody for 1,000 hours, they got to be worth $100 an hour. So that's $100,000. That's a lot of money to write a book. And if you've looked it up online, it's anywhere from 35 to 50,000 is average. Now, there's a way to do it a lot less expensive though. And that's work with somebody who has written the same type of book to the same type of customer, and the research is done. So what I do is I write 12 chapter books, and I write them for $985 a chapter. I write a chapter and I send it to the accountant. This chapter one, and I ask the accountant, now go in and take anything out of this book you don't like. Make a note on anything I forgot to say that you think is important. Add anything you want to add and send it back to me. And I'll rewrite the chapter so that it has your look and feel. Now, what that means is I end up doing 95% of the work. And all you have to do is uh, fix it up with your look and feel. You know, the truth is it's hard to create, but it's very easy to criticize. So just criticize me. I can take it. Hell, I got kids and a wife. So I'm used to being criticized. And so that takes it takes the vast majority of the work off of you. You may end up putting in an hour in edits on 12 different chapters over a 2 month period, and then there's usually a couple of $1,000 in getting the thing typeset, the cover design, that sort of thing. But all total, you're going to put a book in the you're going to put a book in the best customers for somewhere total between 12 and 15,000. You're going to have that book for the rest of your life. It'll never stop working. If things change, you can change the book and just upload version 2, volume 2. Amazon makes that so simple to do. You can write any updates you want yourself or call me. If I'm still alive, I'll be happy to help you do it too for you. But the book that you showed that I wrote that in January of 2022. And in January 2023, I'm going to change that book to volume 2 and add just a ton in there about tax resolution work. And next year, I'm going to put a ton in the next version on outsourced bookkeeping, CAS work, which I think is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger because it's so hard to find help now. So I keep updating it and changing it. That's easy to do. Do it yourself or call me. I'll do it for you. But you'll have that book for the rest of your life, and it's only got to nail one client for you to recover everything forever. Forever. So I'm pitching the whole time in your book why this guy should give you $25,000 or $50,000, and I'm making a darn good business case for that. Hire me to be your CFO, and I will change your business. I will be, what was the word that you like to use, Mark? Transformer?
Transformation.
That's it. I will be the transformation in your business from grinding and grunting to running it like a CEO if you use me as your advisor. And if I go out and hire a CFO, I got to pay $175, $225 to hire one, knows construction. But if I hire you part time for $1,000 a week, I'm getting just about as much real advice at a bargain price. And that is going to impact the local accountant's income by miles. I mean, I would much rather have 20 clients paying me $50,000 a year than 500 clients giving me a $2,000 tax return or $200 tax return or whatever it is. Because I just can't deal with that much humanity. You get 500 clients, 5,000 clients. My God, your life must be like total chaos. Give me 20 guys that I like them so much I have them come over to dinner at my house on Sunday afternoon after church. That's the kind of client I want. The guy that I can sit down and introduce him to my kids, that I can change his life and work with him. That's so much more rewarding
And
as an accountant.
and Casey, I'm glad you brought up that word transformation because here on the Profit Playbook, we love to have guests and talk about transformations. And I think when we were talking a little earlier this week, I was just saying how the accounting industry is going through a transformation. If you think about society in general, we started off as basically an agrarian society, right? And we sold commodities, and then you had to differentiate yourself with the commodities. So then we moved our way up to services, right? And then services became sort of like almost the new commodity because you have accountants saying like, oh, well, we pride ourselves on great customer service. I mean, who prides himself on bad customer service, right? We pride ourselves. We've been in business for 40 years. Okay, great. Well, the guy down the street has been in business for 42 years, right? So we struggle to differentiate. So commodities, services. So the next phase is, experiences. So now we have to differentiate with experiences, and I'm hearing a lot of that these days. But the next step after experiences is transformations, and that's basically taking someone from where they are now to a very different point and actually having some sort of results that flow from that. So what I'm hearing today is that you're basically approaching accountants. You're taking them from, one of the 80,000 accountants in America today that, maybe they have a private practice, but they're really unknown. And there's a lot of great folks out there. I've spoken to hundreds over the years. And basically, you're taking them from someone that's unknown, that maybe has a very small presence, to an authority in not just an industry, but a niche in a particular sector and a particular service line. So that kind of transformation, I feel, is the next big thing in the accounting, and it's really the future. Would you agree?
Oh, it's my whole life. And that's from being on the ground. I must have spoken in my lifetime to 20,000 accountants. And I've been their customer, I've been their vendor, I have been them, although not a very good one. And the the sequence that you described, the evolution that you described, is difficult for us. In the industry, we are judged, we judge ourselves by two factors. Am I on time and am I accurate? And if I personally feel that I've been on time and I've been accurate, then I'm a success. Now, on the other side of the fence, the client is looking at you, so well, timeliness and accuracy is like baseline. What else? What else? So it's so much more fun to work with the client that is doing a half million and wants to go to 2 million. It's just so much more fun. That I think is a transformer that you're looking for, or transformational.
Well, I like that. I'd like, again, and one of the reasons why I reached out to you is because I love transformations, but I also like differentiators. And you put out a product that there's not a lot of, right? Again, folks have blogs and podcasts and ebooks, but to actually have a real book that's effectively not in your name, basically in their name, as though they actually wrote it, and it really puts a lot behind that. So I want to kind of end with, now that we kind of went through the mechanics of the book, so the ROI. Maybe you can quickly tell me who a book is not for, who may not really, maybe it's not the right timing to write a book, because I want to make sure that the folks that get in touch with you, it's a good time, and it may not be a good time for everyone to do that. Who would it not be for?
The Remember I told you that I will talk to 10 accountants but only write one book. Um, and most of those guys turned me down. I didn't turn them down. They was, oh my God, that's way too complicated. But who here's when it doesn't work. When I talk to somebody and they tell me that they did uh, Facebook ads last year. Oh yeah, how much did you spend? $500. Anything happened? No, it was a failure. I did direct mail 2 years ago. I sent out 100 letters. It was a failure. I hired a telemarketer in '87. That guy made calls for a month. It was a failure. And so I see a pattern of dinking around, touching a lot of things, but never really actually committing to making anything work. Um, I won't write a book for that guy. Now, here's who else I will not write a book for: one man operation. Because you're not really a business. If you don't have some employees that are doing the work that you're bringing in the door, that's a hobby. That's not a business. And um, it you can't get to 50, 55 years old and be working by yourself with one part-time assistant coming in 3 days a week and think you're going to change. God, I know that's harsh to say that, but I just can't. I just can't see that person ever really making it work. The customers the accountants that have had the most success have got 4, 8, 10 people in the office making things happen. And they're looking at those people in the office thinking, I need to upgrade our billing. I need to make this business a little bit more fun for me and for them. So, what can we do that would establish us as the best accountant in Minnesota? What can I do quickly that when somebody's in, and I know we keep using construction, but it could be any type of business. When somebody in construction is looking at an accountant and they've looked at 2 or 3 other guys, some off the internet, some off the pay per click, some off of Facebook, some off a friend of mine knows, that kind of thing. They're looking at 2 or 3 other guys, and you're the one that wrote the book. You have more credibility about this question of you have more credibility about the future of this client's business than anyone else can even come close to. I mean, everybody knows what a podcast takes. I mean, the truth is, you buy a $47 camera, you're in a podcast business. That's not much of a commitment. That's not much of a credibility builder. And writing a blog is realistically the same thing. You sit down, you write 500 words, you post it on a blog, you stand back, you think you're going to get rich. But writing a book, that's a job. Having a half a dozen employees, that's a job. That's a big deal. And I now know who you are because I have your book in my hand. I can see your picture on the cover. Hell, I didn't even have to read the book to know that you're a big deal. And you're the best accountant for my problem. And that's what I want. I want this guy to be pre-sold before he calls me. Whether I read the book or not, he's holding it, looking at my picture, knowing that I put in the work and effort to write a book. I've been told since I was in kindergarten how important books are. And here's a local accountant that understands my problems. I want him pre-sold. And what else could do a better job than that ever? I mean, if your mom gave you a referral to an accountant, that would be better than a book. But I haven't heard that happening very often.
Love it. So Casey, maybe we'll just kind of end up. Any other tips for the audience out there? Obviously, you're chock full of information. The industry is changing really quickly these days. Any kind of parting information or parting advice, and then we're going to hop into kind of like a offer that we're gonna leave for the guests today.
The problems that we're suffering from in the accounting industry are not going to go away. Help is going to be hard to find. The client is going to have a low emotional value attached to compilation and compliance work. Competitors are going to underprice you. The problems have been evolving over the last couple of decades, and it's going to get worse. So if you plan on staying in the business, then you're in a situation where you really should step up your game. And the most interesting thing is there are a group of clients that want the best. They don't want the cheapest. Now, the only people that ever call you are the people that want the cheapest. But the people that want the best are the ones that are going to write those $1,000 a week checks to have you hold their hand and give them direction so that they are running the business that they've always dreamed about. They're not getting to where they want to go because there's so many things they don't understand. There are over 100 critical decisions a business owner has to make to get to $2, $3, $4, $5 million in business. They don't even know what the 100 are, let alone how to answer the questions and problems. And it's things like, should we have an ESOP? Should we do bonus plans? Should we set up a recruiting company to get employees in here? There's just 100 things that make it hard. Help that guy. He wants help.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Well, Casey, thank you for being on the show today. I wanted to kind of leave with just maybe a quick little offer for folks that are listening right now. And I think you said you will actually give away a free book. Can you maybe let's just kind of go to your book here and we can talk about how to get in touch with you. So Casey is at lonesomecowboypublishing.com. So you can go to his website. I think there's a little information box. So put in your information. You can tell them that you heard it on the Profit Playbook. And would it be okay for them to have a free copy of your book if they mention the show?
Hey, just mention the show. Send me a note, leave a note on the website, or send me an email. You can even send me a text on my phone, and I'm billing Mark for the book. So that's the first he's heard of it.
I love
Um,
it.
uh, and I will send it to you for free. But let me tell you exactly what my cost is in this and why I'm willing to do it. When the book sells for $10 on Amazon, I buy it on Amazon and with my Amazon Prime account, and it shows up in 2 days. Now it's not even inventory. Amazon prints it as soon as I send them $10, and in 2 days you'll have the book. Now I make $4 in royalty, so my hard cost is in the six, maybe $7 range after sales tax, etc. But can you imagine the impact for 6 or 7 bucks? What could you ever do for 6 or 7 bucks would have so much impact on a potential customer? Now, let me tell you the rest of the story. Out of every 15 books I send out, somebody hires me. Now, and that is exactly the ratio for some accountants. They will hand out 15 books and they get a client. Um, it's incredibly impactful to be the guy who wrote the book. So I'm happy to send it to you. And if you're one of the 14, well, that's fine. I read the book, figure out how to do it on your own, and you kill them, Bubba. I will throw in one more thing, Mark. I will only write one book in a state for a particular title. So I've written a book on construction in Georgia for an accountant on construction. Uh, if you call me and you want to write a book for construction in Georgia, I won't take the order because I don't want to. I don't want to create any kind of conflict or competition between my customers. So just so you know,
Sure.
and the other thing you should know is you're going to be the only one. Nobody else writes a book. You're the only one.
Love it. Well, Casey, thanks so much for joining, and I'll let you go out cowboy style. The sun is fading in the sunset, so this is a perfect segue to end our show. So thanks so much for being on the show, and maybe we'll have you back again soon.
I look forward to it. As we say out here in the West, let's ride.
All right, you take it easy, Casey.
Thank you.